with Eddie in the afternoon, where I just join you live here in the noon lunch hour, and we sit and we just kind of chat for a little bit. I am live on Twitter and Twitch, so if you want to join me on either one of those platforms, kind of getting into a rhythm where we're trying to do this show every Tuesday and Thursday at 12:30, right? That's kind of the window that I've settled in on. There will be a replay of it later, so you can, watch it on YouTube later in the day, and, yay, fun for that. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, or either this channel or the Twitch channel at the Eddie McCabe. Today, I feel like we are going to talk about some stuff that is very near and dear to my heart. We're going to be chatting about theme parks and things that of that ilk. But before we get into that, figured I would just do a little bit of housekeeping. Today, we will be re-recording, or not re-recording, we're just going to be recording the first time, but we're going to be recording the first episode of the new year for That Movie Show. We have decided that because tomorrow, Friday, January 15th, WandaVision premieres on Disney Plus, we will be covering Avengers Age of Ultron, which is the premiere of both characters that star in WandaVision, the Scarlet Witch and Vision. So that should be really fun. It's going to be a very interesting episode. We haven't recorded it yet as of me going live here. We're going to basically do that in a couple of hours. But Mike and I haven't actually sat down to do That Movie Show in a while, so we have some catching up to do, which is always a very interesting time. If you don't listen to That Movie Show, it's a very interesting show now, because new movies didn't exist. So we just kind of went through and watched a bunch of stuff that we wanted to watch in 2020, and it was a very weird cathartic movie journey. Technically, I think that we're still doing the 30-day film challenge. Back in either May or April, there was an Instagram where it was 30 days of movies, and there were prompts, and you would just kind of say what movie was what for you. And we basically decided that for the following 30 episodes we were going to do that. So we're on week 20 or something like that, so we've been doing it for a while, and it's been long and interesting, to say the least. It's been very long and very interesting, to say the least, and I screwed up at one point and said the wrong movie, and that threw my whole order out of whack. It was very, very weird and difficult. If you tuned into the stream before, just because I was looking at it, and I will forget if I don't say this, if you were tuning into the stream before and you heard those beats, I just wanted to give a shout out to Stream Beats. They're royalty-free streams from Harris Heller, and you can find them on Spotify. That's where I listen to, and the whole point is to be able to use copywritten free music for streamers to stream and not get copyright strikes, because if you create content on the internet and you've ever had the audacity to use somebody else's music, the wrath of God will come down upon you. So Harris Heller created Stream Beats for the streamer to basically not have to deal with the wrath of God. And we all appreciate that for him. So check it out. He's got a bunch of different varieties from EDM, hip-hop, lo-fi, synthwave. So there's a lot of fun stuff. He does it himself. They're looking to expand. So go give that a follow. Go give him a follow and go check that out, because it's definitely awesome and a great thing for kind of a creator to go and kind of create for the community. So thank you. And, that's perfectly awesome. So, yeah. Now that that's out of the way, back to That Movie Show. That Movie Show is going to be very interesting. We're going to be looking to expand in the new year. It's Mike and I have been talking, and you can go and listen to the show. We're probably going to cover it, 2021 now kind of hopes to be for both of us. We have some really fun projects in the works, both him and I, and obviously when I get a little bit more on my end, I'll share it here, and you'll be able to hear all of that fun stuff from me directly. But we sit and we talk, and it's a very fun and cathartic show. Very vulgar though. I try not to swear. I'm also talking to myself, so it's very different than talking to a person, and having somebody to actually feed off the energy. But it's fun, and it's a good listen. You can find us on thatmovieshow.net. That episode of Avengers Age of Ultron will drop tomorrow, so go like, comment, subscribe. And while you're at it, like, comment, subscribe on all my social media stuff because, just trying to kind of gain some traction here and just kind of, have a fun mid-afternoon conversation with y'all. So now, before I get into the main topic of theme parks, I do want to give a shout out to one of my absolute favorite creators that deals with theme park content. They're my go-to source of all things theme park related. It's who I absolutely love to hear from every week. They have a fantastic show, and that is a couple of Park Hoppers. That's at Park Hoppers Show on all social media, I think. I'm pretty sure it's everything. They got it all. They got, Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter. They have a YouTube channel as well as a TikTok. Congratulations to them. Over the course of the week, they passed 10,000 followers. And if you're a TikTok person, that means, a lot because you now get to be a part of the Creator Fund, right? And anybody that's created on the internet knows that just because you have the 10,000 followers and get into that sort of thing, you're going to get 3 cents for every 1,000 views that your posts get. So, it's still a long climb, but at least you kind of get invited to the dance. And, for any content creator, that's exactly what, you're kind of looking for is building that audience and creating that sort of content platform that can at least allow you to be monetized and not necessarily work crappy day jobs, so it's, good for them. I'm really excited, but I have the privilege of knowing them personally. They're great, dear friends of mine. I'm very sad. I used to live with them and they moved down to Orlando to kind of pursue this park hopping dream, and it's really paid off for them. So go follow them because they produce great content. They're a delightful show. A couple of park hoppers. I listen to them on Spotify, but they are on all social media platforms or all audio platforms, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, Glork Normal, all of it. And so it's great. It's fantastic. But there's been a bunch of news that's popped up over the past few weeks, different videos, announcements, things like that. Because I don't know if we've ever talked about this on this show. If you know me, you probably have guessed it already. But I'm a Disney adult, right? I absolutely love Walt Disney World. It is one of my absolute favorite places in the absolute entire world. The reason is, and I guess I'll just lay into a little bit of a backstory. Probably the main reason why I absolutely love it is that from airplane to airplane, right? I live in Boston, Massachusetts. So when I get on the plane at Logan, Massachusetts, to when I come home and get off the plane in Massachusetts, I am in a bubble, right? I know that not all people feel this way. They get really stressed and things like that when they plan Disney trips and plan Disney events and stuff and have to deal with family and stuff. But, just kind of the way that I operate and the way that I do things, I don't really necessarily feel that stress. It is quite the opposite. It is a very relaxing vacation. I am not look at me. I am very, very white. So I'm not necessarily a sit on the beach and tan person. That's just not a person that I am. It's not something that I necessarily enjoy doing because I have two settings, regular and extra crispy, and I prefer to stay regular, right? As do we all, I assume. But when I get on the plane, I don't have to worry about anything, right? The way that I always plan my vacations to Walt Disney World is that everything is basically paid for up front. You can book right through Walt Disney World. It's very simple, right? You don't even need to necessarily put it on a credit card. You can basically reserve the resort, the tickets, and everything right up front, and then you're able to make installment payments, I believe up to 30 days before your trip, right before you're supposed to check in, which takes a lot of the pressure off because, if you're booking a couple $1,000 vacation, that's a lot of money, right? It is a lot of money. But if you know that you're going to go in 18 months, well, now all of a sudden that's not super, that's not super expensive, relatively. I know everybody's financial situations are very different, and, you do what you can. But I'm only talking about me personally, and I can't go every year, but when I decide to go, I can make a concerted effort to make sure that I don't have to necessarily strap myself going forward. And they make it super duper easy. They pick you up from the airport and they drop you back off at the airport when you're done, right? And so from bell to bell, it's very easy. And then on top of that, you go, and part of their like corporate culture and the culture of Disney is whimsy, magic, and just happiness. And I know a lot of people get stressed out. It's very stressful. A lot of walking, a lot of kids, right? But everybody kind of does their best to be as nice as possible to everybody. And, in somebody who works in a industry that is very go, go, go and very crass, I think it's very nice to just kind of have that break of fantasy and kind of step away from reality for a while. And it's just the kind of person I am. I absolutely love roller coasters too. I love escapism. It's just kind of fun. I mean, I play pretend for a living, right? I yell at the internet and I play pretend for a living. So, it's right up my alley. And, I've been able to surround myself with a lovely bunch of people that kind of feel the same way, and so I can also go with groups of people that absolutely love Disney as much as I do. And we all have an amazing time together. So, it's a ton of fun. Every single time there's so much to do, so much to go and see, and they're always having special events and festivals and things like that. So, one of the things that's great about Walt Disney was that, he never wanted everything to stay the same, right? He wanted everything to evolve. He wanted everything to change and keep moving forward. And I believe he said, I'm going to butcher the quote, but he said, "We don't look back for long around here very often." And, it's great because that means that when the parks get updated and changed, it's always for the better, right? Because while we do love those older things and we do love those shows and parades and fireworks spectacles and rides, there's always something new coming. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, if you will. And this is coming from a person who has watched all of their favorite rides over the years basically go away. We've talked about it. I've mentioned it several times. I work in entertainment. I have my own production company. I work in television and film, and I do all that fun stuff. And one of the things that I absolutely love is the Great Movie Ride at Hollywood Studios. And it was my favorite attraction. And I know that I was in the minority because, it's a dark ride and it's just a bunch of old movies that nobody cares about. And it was there for forever. And I remember just absolutely falling in love with that ride when I went to Disney World for the first time with my family. I already loved movies to begin with, so to be able to ride the movies was really cool. I loved getting to the scene with the gangster, right? And they had the shootout and the bank robber ends up, commandeering your vehicle. And I just remember that being so cool that, they kidnapped us and we were moving and I was sitting right up front and I was interacting with the cast member, and it was just a really magical experience. And I guess that's kind of why Disney World is imprinted on me so much, is because of that, right? That interaction with that cast member was just so fun and so, magical that it kind of stuck with me, right? And so if that ride has recently closed, I was able to ride it one last time when I went for Disney Mania in 2017, I think. And so I was able to ride it one last time. It was the last ride that I did in that, on that trip. And it was really, sad knowing that was going to be it, right? That I was never going to be able to ride that ride again. But knowing that something bigger and more fantastic and something that kind of, just needs to be updated was around the bend, it was okay to let it go, right? And so that's why when the news kind of broke around July, I think, this year, when they kind of announced that Splash Mountain was going to be was going to go away. It kind of, I was already prepared, right? Because mentally I'd already prepared for the closure. I have already prepared myself for a closure of a favorite ride. Now, Splash Mountain, for me, has a very different, connection. It has a very different emotional connection for me because I remember, again, that same trip. The first ride I ever went on was Splash Mountain. My sister, who is 3 years younger than me, she was asleep with my dad at the time, but my mom had gotten me up, and her and I went to the parks, and I remember walking through, like, underneath the train station onto Main Street and just being awestruck. And my mom was like, we got to do this, because she had read the guidebooks and, she had read everything, and she kind of had all the strategies laid out and everything. And we beelined right to Splash Mountain, and we got on it right in the first, it was the first ride I had ever done there. It was crazy. It was really fun. It was a very of its time. And if you go back onto the YouTube channel of that movie show, or not that movie show, of the Eddie McCabe, I talk about kind of the retheming of Splash Mountain in a little bit more detail, and I believe I talked with the park hoppers as well. So you can go and check that out. It's in the archives. You can go and check that out there. So it's just very interesting, and when you see everything kind of updating with Epcot and what's happening with Epcot, I think it's very, it's great to watch the 50th anniversary, right? That's coming up in October. It's coming up in October. That'll be 50 years of Walt Disney World. And so, yeah, I'm looking to make sure I can get myself down there to make that happen. But things are constantly moving and changing. Disney Springs was rebranded and new from when I was there, because it was Downtown Disney and the Disney Marketplace prior to that, and just kind of having them update that into a more sleek and sexy design, a much better, cooler show. They had so many skeleton buildings, right? There was Disney Quest that had closed years prior, and all of the Pleasure Island clubs were just sitting there, just vacant and rotting. So, having that huge conversion made it a really cool must-go place, and a place that you could spend the evening and, and drink and dance and have fun, that I don't think that they had had before, especially until like Pleasure Island kind of closed, and like the west side of Disney certainly closed. And so basically that kind of brings us to like the big news that kind of was released this week. And that was that the Magical Express, and I had mentioned it earlier, right? You go to the airport, and then from the Orlando airport to your resort, Disney provides the Magical Express. And the Magical Express just basically allows you they pick up your bags for you, they bring it to your hotel, and they put them in your hotel room, which is a fantastic service. It's an absolute fantastic service, especially for somebody that might get there in the earlier part of the day, right? It's only a 3-hour plane ride. And so if I were to come from Boston, it's a 3-hour plane ride, and I can get there at 9 o'clock in the morning. That means I have a whole day of potential parks ahead of me, right? So if I have the tickets and I can go, I'm basically just dropping my bags off and going anyway, right? So having the ability to not worry about my luggage, and it can just be in my room when I'm ready, is fantastic. But I guess the contract with Mears is the shuttle company, the bus company that runs the Magical Express. It's contracted out through Disney. I would assume that their contract is up. And so, because their contract is up, it doesn't seem like they're going to be renewing it in 2022. They're going to stop offering the Magical Express. Now, when I first heard that, I was super bummed out, right? And Bill Neville of a couple of park hoppers will fight this till he's blue in the face and he's wrong. And I want you to go onto a couple of park hoppers and I want you to tell him that I sent you and that he is wrong, right? On the Magical Express, Donald Duck gives you cinnamon buns. That is 100% what they do. I don't know if Chip is in the chat. I just saw your thing. There's nothing like walking in on that first day, or any day really. And you're right. There is nothing like walking in and just kind of seeing that, especially for the first time. Especially in the first time. And if you have some sort of ability to have the luck of being on a parade. I know they're not doing parades right now because they're doing the cavalcades because of COVID, but there's bells and whistles and Mickey's there, and it's just sensory overload. But it's a magical experience. But like I was saying, go tell Bill Neville of a couple of Park Hoppers, Bill Neville 87 on Twitter, or Park Hopper Show. That Donald Duck gives you cinnamon buns on the Magical Express, and he lives down in Orlando, so we can never go on the Magical Express again, right? And he'll never know. And that's something we're losing. We are going to be losing that when the Magical Express happens. But, kind of in that same vein of things get taken away, but they're replaced by bigger things. You look at the Magical Express going away, but now a high-speed rail system is coming in. And that's really exciting. You know what I mean? So I would imagine, obviously there aren't any details out. This announcement was just made a couple of weeks ago, but I would imagine that with the high-speed rail system going up the coast of Florida and then out over to the airport, and then they're also getting a station at Disney Springs, they're going to probably offer the Magical Express, but just as a rail service as opposed to a bus service, which I think is more eco-friendly, smart, design. Maybe they'll just purchase their own buses and do it themselves. That might be more cost effective. I'm not 100% sure. I know that, the theme park and tourism industry just kind of as a whole in 2020 was really, hit hard. So it's really tough to kind of know where their heads are at with that. But my guess would be having the rail system as an available, viable transportation. Now, it would be much easier to then, what about the bags? What about my room? Because that's a fantastic service that I would hope wouldn't go away. You basically can just rent a bunch of cargo vans, and that's a lot easier to just have cargo vans that bring your luggage as opposed to, just kind of basically throwing it on the bus anyway. And so, I'm excited to kind of see what's going to happen there. Harmonious, the new Epcot the Epcot show. That is, obviously they're not doing nighttime spectacular fireworks because of COVID and social distancing. So they've basically just been kind of putting in the barges and kind of building the show for Harmonious. Those LED screens look massive. And some people, have always had an issue with how big they are. And I hope that people don't kind of put the cart before the horse on this one. Wait till they're fully installed before you're able to kind of make a judgment on it. And look, yes, it's really cool to kind of look across Seven Seas Lagoon, the Seven Seas Lagoon, and see Mexico from the UK, or look over and see Germany while you're standing in Canada, or just standing in America and looking across and seeing Spaceship Earth, right? And so, I got a really cool picture from the last time I was there on New Year's where it's the Spaceship Earth, but there's a clock, right? And they're counting down to midnight. It was fantastic. And Chip, yeah, I know I'm trying to, making you convinced not to book a flight right now. And here's the thing, pal. You absolutely should. You absolutely should. Or you and I, we can just drive down there. How about that, bud? You and I, we'll just drive down and it'll be a ton of fun. I hope that, they do add some sort of water feature, maybe just to kind of break up blank LED screens. Because that's the only way that the Harmonious screens would be a eyesore, is if they're black, right? If they're black because they're off. But if you're able to do the what is this? Probably modded. Oh, did you? Yeah, you got excited. So Streamlabs got angry at you, Chip. You can't you can't have all caps, I guess. I'll turn that off. I don't know. I'm still figuring out the Streamlabs end of things. But yeah, we're live. So if you wanted to tune in, I do this every Tuesday and Thursday in the noontime hour. and we basically just go live and we chat. So if you come on into the chat, I'll be able to interact with you. If you're watching this on a rebroadcast or on YouTube or listening to the audio podcast, now you know Tuesdays and Thursdays we do the show, so you're able to interact and have a fun time and watch Streamlabs, which is the like broadcast software that I use. You can watch them yell at Chip, which is always fun. And so, like I said, harmonious. Those barges, that's the only way it'll be an eyesore, right? Because if there is a video that's running throughout the day, it'll kind of blend in, right? Or if there's a fountain that obstructs it with a beautiful fountain, I think that could be nice as well. You know, it's really depressing that we aren't going to be able to get the full vision of what the Epcot transformation is going to be. They finally installed that fountain in front of Spaceship Earth, and it looks beautiful. The LEDs and the prisms look absolutely, absolutely fantastic. And I'm, really excited to kind of see what the rest of the transformation is going to be. Obviously, it's going to be delayed, but the Moana Journey of Water is going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very interesting, fun, interactive experience, and I really kind of love what this Epcot redesign is going to be. As a kid, you kind of hate Epcot, right? It's educational, at least it was in the 90s and the early 2000s. It's educational. The countries are boring because not all of them have a ride. Mexico and Norway were the only two that had rides at the time before the Three Caballeros overlay. It was just basically Mexican It's a Small World. And, it was okay. It was okay at best. And Maelstrom is an all-time attraction from the Norway Pavilion. But after that, there's just videos, right? You just had a video in China, a video in France, a video in Canada, and that was it, right? And so you don't really care as a child of the different like cultural touch tones, right? And your parents love it because it was one of the only places that you could get alcohol, so you could drink around the world, and all the adults loved that. And so you were just kind of dragged along, and then you go to the sea base, But since the infusion of IPs into the park, Frozen Ever After being introduced, the Seas with Nemo and Friends, I think that Epcot has really kind of taken its turn. I think it's a beautiful park. It's fantastic. I can't wait to see what ends up happening, which is with Guardians of the Galaxy, right? The license for Marvel properties in Walt Disney World is real touch and go, right? Without going into too much detail, the basic answer is that anybody that shows up at Marvel's Islands of Adventure or at Universal Islands of Adventure in Superhero Island, anybody that appears on there can't be in a Disney park, right? So they can't have Captain America and Captain America. They can't have two Hulk rides. They can't have two Spider-Man rides, things like that. But that's why that is only in Florida. And so that's why we can have the Avengers Campus at Disneyland or California Adventure. I forget which park it's in. But that's the way that works. But the Guardians of the Galaxy aren't represented at Islands of Adventure, so they're able to build a Guardians of the Galaxy ride at Epcot, which is exciting, and we'll see what that roller coaster is. Hopefully that ride basically fulfills the promise that Escape from Gringotts has. Now, let me know if you want to hear, because I got a bunch of theme park hot takes that we can, go through, and I'm not going to share them all here because we're definitely over time, but having a real roller coaster that is, 4D reactive and spinning, and it's going to be really fun and really exciting. So I'm excited to see what that is. Hopefully we can, get a better ride than Test Track, because Test Track is a garbage ride. There, I said it, and I'm going to leave you with that. I don't like Test Track. Here's the thing. I'm an adult. I've driven in a convertible going 90 miles an hour on the highway. So, 65 in a track circle just isn't as exciting as that when you're, once you have a driver's license. Because, let's be honest, we've all been late to work, and we've all gone way too fast on the highway. So we've all lived a test track before. So thank you very much. I'm going to throw it over to you. Have you taken the Magical Express? Is it something that you'll miss when it's gone? What are your thoughts on having the retheme of Splash Mountain be basically months away, right? We are almost months away from that ride closing down permanently and them retheming it to Princess and the Frog. So I want to hear from you. Let me know. You can find me at Eddie McCabe on all social media. That is Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, and Twitch. We're live every Tuesday and Thursday in the noon hour. So we're just gonna sit and talk with you on your lunch break. So DM me, tweet at me, ask me questions, comment on this video about topics you want to hear me discuss, or come in on the chat and just ask questions. I'd love to hear from you. So I've been Eddie McCabe. Thank you very much, and I'll see you real soon.